folks, this is Stormbringer TV, Siggy here at the Gasometer in Vienna, and on the couch with me, the singer of one of the hottest metal acts today, David from Disturbed. Hey David, thank you very much for your time, thanks for being with us. We're just going to cut right through the chase. You've been promoting your current album Asylum now for almost a year. How has it been for so far? How has the reception been both by fans and critics? What's the resume so far?
Pretty well received all the way around. I think that critically, actually, this is one of the better received records. And as far as fans have been concerned, we've gotten exuberant reviews from our fan base. They've seem to be very, very happy with the records. And the reaction live speaks for itself, so it's been great.
All right, that sounds very good. Now, as said, it's been out for almost a year. How much longer are you going to be touring now with this album?
Through the end of the summer. All
right, cool. Now, I think it's especially in the United States, you're really one of the most successful acts right now. I think the album debuted actually at #1 on the Billboard charts, which is something that quite of an achievement. I think the only other metal band that ever managed that was Metallica.
Well, Metallica has 5 in a row. We've got 4 in a row. So.
All right. But you're catching up.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're working on it.
Very good. Now, in Europe, it's traditionally, I think, a bit of a different taste. You're still very successful here as well, but what do you think, what's the difference between the taste in America of fans considering metal and what's...
I don't think it's a matter of... as far as our success being gauged in the different markets, it's not really a matter of taste. In fact, I think that Europe has much more of a taste for metal than the States does. I think that we have been playing catch-up for a long time. Our first record cycle, we kind of got handed a raw deal. Our label that we were on originally, Giant Records, was sold after our second single was released. And it was sold to Warner Brothers Direct. And BMG, who was carrying us over here, when they realized they weren't going to have the next record, just figured they weren't going to put any more money into the band. And so that was right before Down With the Sickness was released, which is arguably our biggest single. Now, had we been able to capitalize off of the success of that on a worldwide level, had we had a label pushing Down With the Sickness overseas, we might be talking a different story. Disturbed may be much larger outside the U.S. than it is inside. But right now, depending on the markets, I mean, throughout Germany we do very well, throughout the UK we do very well, throughout most of Europe we do very well. We don't normally come back to a territory in as short a period of time as we are here in Vienna. We were only here 6 months ago, but we love the city, and when we had to look to bridge the gap between our last show and the upcoming show in Milan, why not come to Vienna? Vienna is one of the most beautiful cities in all of Europe, so it's kind of hard to argue it.
Yeah, and we're very pleased to have you again. So now, I think you're responsible for the lyrics, obviously, and on the new album as well, very different types of themes, some serious, some less serious maybe. Where do you draw your inspiration from, and are there certain subjects that you particularly want to talk about, or are there others that you want to keep away from the band that you would not include in your lyrics at any point in time?
There certainly won't be any songs about puppy dogs and rainbows, I mean, I don't see that coming anytime soon, but nothing is really taboo, nothing is off the table. We consider everything, and the songs, as far as the lyrical content is concerned, is really reflective of my own personal life experience and views of world events and political themes and just a myriad of things. It just has to be something that's closely tied to your emotion and your psyche and things that you're passionate about.
So, for someone who's not involved with your band, how would you describe the songwriting process in Disturbed? How does it all work? I think you've also produced the last 2 albums yourselves. So how can we picture that working out?
Well, I would say 95% of the time it starts with a guitar riff idea that Danny comes up with. He brings it to Mike. They make it into about a 2 or 3 part progression, skeletal song structure. Put it onto a file and send it to me. online, and I throw it into my Pro Tools and start messing with melody ideas in a sort of a scat format, like a jazz musician does. No real words yet, just like gibberish, skilly-dabba-doo-bop, but not really those kind of sounds. Yeah, I'm sure people are fairly familiar with my gibberish by now. I track that, I send it back, I ask them to change certain things and rearrange certain things, and when all of the musical nuances are in place and everything rhythmically and melodically is solidified, the very last piece of the puzzle are the lyrics. And the lyrics are written to that pre-existing melody and rhythm that I had written for the vocal. So it's kind of like putting pieces of a puzzle together. It's a very, very difficult part of the process, probably the most difficult for me. But also, it's been the most effective.
As I mentioned, you were producing your last two albums yourselves. In how far is it different for you guys in particular to be working without a producer compared to with a producer? Where do you see your advantages, disadvantages?
To be honest with you, our relationship is such that it's really been such a high level of mutual respect and admiration for each other, and we recognize what each member brings to the table in each situation. For the first 3 records, working with Johnny K, Johnny was a very good teacher as far as teaching us how to lay out records properly, how they are produced, but from a perspective of helping craft the songs were 95 to 98% in their completed form from the day we entered the studio. Never has really been any pre-production with the band. In fact, going back as early as The Sickness, the demo versions of the songs, 6 of them, that we had released as demos were exactly the same on the actual album itself. So we do a lot of our own homework. We beat the songs up to death and trim the fat before we've ever stepped foot in the door. We don't really believe that too much of the writing experimentation should be done in the studio. We think that's the time to track. You should know what you're doing by the time you set foot in the door. So, truth be told, without the 5th set of ears, it's actually been a little bit more effective of a process. We are a little bit more efficient. Don't waste as much time.
Yeah, because probably you'll be looking for the same kind of thing as opposed to someone who's not in the band who will be probably looking for something else, right?
Or just, trying to lend his suggestions and help us with his own creativity, which he has tried to do. But and like I said, I mean, Johnny was a fantastic teacher. Without him, we wouldn't be able to do what we do now. But yeah, the process really hasn't changed. It's pretty much identical to the way it's always been.
Speaking of The Sickness, now this was your first big hit actually, and it was released back in 2000. So last year you had The Asylum, 2010, a decade of Disturbed. Looking back on this period of time, what's your resume?
Resume? God. Ozfest alum. Let's see. Certainly not a media darling. Haven't been for, at least not for the beginning of my career, of our career. Yeah, we've just kept growing. We've just been part of more and more tours. We built the Music as a Weapon franchise. We've got, at this point, about 13 million records sold worldwide. 4 #1 back-to-back debuts. Gold and platinum records for all over the world. I mean, how's that for a resume? Is that okay?
That sounds quite okay, I'd say.
Now we're talking 9 #1 active rock singles, so that's a pretty good resume, I'd say.
I'd say so too. With the new album, I think it's still a classical Disturbed album. Would you say, did you do anything different compared to previous albums? Where are new elements? Where are old elements?
Well, some of the newer elements are some of the instrumental moments that exist on the record, particularly the intro to Asylum, which we've titled Remnants on the record. We've pushed further with the level of difficulty of songwriting, the complexity of the songwriting. And as far as lyrical content is concerned, the approach to the lyrics on this particular record was much more straightforward, much more of a storytelling type of fashion, rather than the cryptic sort of way that I had written lyrics in the past. This one was much more wearing my heart on my sleeve sort of thing, which was very different from me, but was necessary. It was a good cathartic process for us, for me.
All right, so you mentioned you were going to tour till the end of summer. What's next in store for Disturbed? New album, DVD, anything like that, or just a break?
It's hard to say. I mean, we're definitely going to take some time off. We're definitely going to take some time off. How much? Not sure. We need to take a breather. You know, so we'll see. There's some stuff that's in the works, some additional projects that we've been discussing that we want to try and attack as Disturbed. Maybe some things that'll be ready for Christmas, potentially. But it's still in the works, and we're still discussing it. But as far as the record of new material is concerned, it's probably a ways away.
Yeah. You mentioned a project you're going to do as Disturbed. Is there anything planned as a solo project by some of you guys, or just...
Not really, no. I mean, our life has been so completely encompassed by the world of Disturbed. There really hasn't been much time for that. You know, no one's saying that that's absolutely impossible, but it's been incredibly difficult to even conceive, considering the amount of work that Disturbed entails. So, who knows? I don't anticipate anything. But.
All right, so I really don't want to steal too much of your time anymore. So, one last message for your fans in Austria?
Just that we love coming out here. Every time we've come out, it's been an amazing show. We always look forward to the ferocity of the European fan base in particular, and Vienna, like we said, is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. We love coming out here.
All right, then, David, thank you very much for your time. You guys check out The Asylum, in stores since August 2010, if I'm not mistaken. And you have a great show tonight, and definitely looking forward to it. Thank you very much.